All right, welcome back to another NovNov. Today we are going to be getting into Kali Linux a little bit more. We will eventually get to the cool hacking stuff that everybody always wants to talk about. But before then, we've got some user management and shell management to work on. And this does require the use of commands because I don't want to click through the GUI. So I'm logged in as my Esbern user, right? But there is still that default Kali account, which if I do groups Kali, they have full control of the system. So it uses the username Kali and the password of Kali, and this system is protected at least a little bit. It's on my personal network that is not easily accessible for just random strangers. It is inside of VirtualBox, kind of protected with NAT. So it's unlikely that somebody will stumble across this, but just good habit is to not use default or known credentials for something. So we are going to fix that a little bit, but we're also going to fix Esbern's shell, or at least look at how we could. And that's because if you guys don't remember, this is just using the default shell, not clean, once you do clear, not the Z shell that Kali typically uses. So we're going to go ahead and run two commands to do this. First, we're going to try and fix Esbern's shell. So really quick, got to make sure that Esbern is in the sudo group so that we can use sudo in this command. So sudo usermod space the name of the user space s space, and this is where we could type in the full path to mm, we could type in the full path to our Z shell, or we could say which ZSH inside like this. And what this should do is it should pull down the actual Z shell path and put it right here, which will then be substituted into that parameter. This is something I talk about a lot. Command substitution goes alongside with command chaining, chaining and subbing, if you will, or if you're not into that. Anyway, so this is going to be something you could just throw in there with your password and hope it works. So now let's go ahead and exit. And let's take a look and see if we're using the right shell now. So let's do spaced for a second, tail, -n1, etc pass wd. And we'll see that Esbern is now using Z shell instead of just SH. But we still have that Kali user. So if I cat that same file and then grep for Kali, we'll see that Kali is still there and still can be used. So we're going to use another usermod command. So do sudo usermod space hyphen capital L to lock hyphen E for expiration, set it to 1, so it'll happen immediately, and then set the shell to bin, no, sbin, no login. Just checking my handwritten notes. I only have one monitor for this computer. I forgot to head up more. There we go. Sbin. There we go. Ooh, I did something wrong. L, yeah. E, oh, it requires a date. So the 1 won't work for us on that. What was I thinking of the 1 on? Anyway, let's do it again. Sudo usermod L, or wait, I didn't put a username on there, did I? I didn't. I forgot to put Kali in there. So let's try that before I try changing my command. Let's actually do the full thing. And there we go. So I just forgot to supply my username. The rest of it was working, and now we can go ahead and Once again, cat that etc past wd and grep for Kali. We'll see that right here, it is now set to no login. And if we sudo cat etc past wd and grep for Kali. Oh, I did the same file. I meant to do it's NovNov. I meant to do shadow, which is where the password information is stored. We'll see that it put this exclamation point before the hash password or before the hash of the password. That kind of invalidates it. So it's just one more thing we can do. So we locked it. We set the account to expire and we set it so that they can't log in. So now when we're using this, we have to be sure to use our user, because even if we take a look at, let's go back into that shadow file. So sudo cat etc shadow grep root. There is no password set to access root directly. That's why we had to use the Kali account and then sudo up. Same thing with Esbern. We can sudo su to get up to root. Right? So now I'll go ahead and clear my screen. I have root access still, cd space / root to go to the root user's home directory. You could have also done just tilde to throw you there because that is a shortcut for the user's home directory, but that doesn't work in every shell. So always be ready to do cd space on that. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. So first thing I'm going to do is fix my view a little bit. So let's go to session, preferences. My eyes are bad. Kicking it up to 14-point font so that I can see. Then apply OK. All of the similar stuff we've been using still works. So we can do things like Telnet, telehack.com to make an outgoing connection. And if we wanted to, we could watch a little aquarium for a little bit. That's enough of that. Exit out, clear the screen. We could also, oh, do I have their IP address still? No, I'll have to look it up. I have NSLookup, right? NSLookup. Yeah, so I can look up the FTP server for the computer sciences department for princeton.edu. Grab that IP address. Oh, number lock was on. I always say that Hyper-V sucks at keyboard pass-through because that's what I typically use, but VMware and Proxmox also suck at it, and so does VirtualBox, so it's pretty much any hypervisor you use is going to suck at it. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to go into this FTP server. That has anonymous login enabled. This is something that they are aware of, right? So all transfers are logged with your host name and IP address. Do not do anything nefarious or malicious on here. This is a public resource, right? We should never abuse public resources. So the reason why I'm showing this off though is that remote access is a big part of using the Linux file system, whether you are in DigitalOcean, using droplets, or locally using virtual machines. So being able to work with these different types of remote connections, whether it's Telnet, SSH, or FTP, is a good place to start. If a lot of these commands are throwing you for a loop, there are some resources that you can use. Explain shell is, I don't actually remember where I saw this first. It was probably in some YouTube video that I was watching at 3 in the morning. But essentially, if you guys remember that any of those commands I was doing, like when I did sudo usermod, and then I threw all those parameters in there, you can take stuff like that and throw it directly into explain shell, and it'll tell you what it's doing, right? So then you can say, oh, that S for shell is how you set it. So then you can change it up a little bit. And instead of sudo usermod for Kali, we did sudo usermod for Esbern and still used the -s, but then specified which Z shell we wanted to use from there. So that is a great resource on learning parameters. Not everything's in here, but a lot of stuff is, and it also calls out to the man pages. Another one is SS64. This has a lot of stuff in here, both Linux and Mac and Windows and PowerShell and DOS and CMD and a bunch of other stuff. But if you're looking for a command to do something, you can come in here and Control F it. So like let's say we're looking for print, something to do with printing. So not those. Cat prints the display, checksum prints the CRC, print the kernel and driver messages. So D message, we used that to troubleshoot previously. Log name, LPCs, line printer control. Got a lot of printing going on. PR, prepare files for printing. Print cap, printer capabilities. Print F if you like making people annoyed. Uname, print system information. So let's say we wanted to learn more about Uname. Then we can just click in here and it'll give us the specifics that you can use. This is also already in your terminal, right? Very similar, in fact, more information sometimes. But if you're out reading, learning how to do stuff, these resources are pretty good. So I will throw them into the uh, description. I think that's what that part of the video is called. Anyway, let's go ahead and quit out of that, clear out of that. And I have one last thing that I'm going to show you guys that you can start to practice remote access and hacking, I guess we'll call it. And it is over the wire. If a lot of you might have already heard of this, if you've heard me talk at any length, I've probably brought it up. But it's just a bunch of war games or CTF challenges that you can level up through. Bandit is the first one. It focuses on just the basics on how to even do these. There are a bunch of levels. They do get harder as you go, but you start on level 0. These here, right, are great instructions to read if you haven't done this before. But once you're ready, all you really need to do is access it. The goal of this level is for you to log into the game using SSH. The host to which you need to connect is bandit.labs.overthewire.org on port 2220. The username is bandit0 and the password is bandit0. So I'm using this as an example to show you guys that syntax, right? So I'm going to go back to SS64 and I'm going to search for SSH. And there's going to be so many things, right? We've got the SSH man page, we've got the executable, how to tell the difference. Let's just go to the man page for SSH. And we know our username, we know our password, we know the host. So user at host is how we can connect. And then we just need the -p for our port number, right? So stringing all of that together, if I go over to explain shell, SSH-p 2220 bandit0 at bandit.labs.overthewire.org and have them explain that. If it'll load. There we go. So it opens the SSH client, connects over a port, and logs into the specified host name with the optional username. So you take that back to our terminal, throw it in there. Gotta trim it because I copied some of the formatting because I'm lazy. It says, hey, you don't know this. I know I don't know this. I don't know anybody. Here we go. Bandit. The password to give us was bandit0. And now you are in. The whole goal of this is to work up through the levels. So once you've logged in, go to level 1. Do the thing. It will tell you how to level up to level 2 because whenever you find a password for a level, use SSH to log into that level and continue the game. Highly recommend taking notes just in case you accidentally drop out, right? Because you can pick up where you left off if you keep good notes. Also know that they do change these occasionally. It's not going to be the same forever. But go ahead and work through some bandit levels. It tells you the commands to try, right? You even got a tip on there. Passwords are not saved automatically. That's basically, I didn't even see that before I started saying it. That's awesome. As levels get more challenging, detailed notes are useful to return to where you left off, right? So go ahead and spend a little bit of time, build your familiarity, tell me how far you get. I think I go over this with my students sometimes, and I think the furthest any of them's gotten is 15 that they told me, because the ones that tend to get farther than that disappear into the ether, and I never hear from them again. But always remember to exit to close your sessions, exit to close your shells, exit to close your terminal. And that is all we've got for today's NovNov. I'll pick it up again tomorrow, and we'll get into a little bit more hacking.